It is good to be back in church again tonight. It is good to be back here in church with all of you. Why? Because you made it a priority to be here in church, and those are the kinds of people I want to hang out with. So it's good that everyone is here. How many people have had bad days? Okay, so we have like 3 honest people in here, right? Okay, let's do this again. How many people have had bad days? Come on, raise your hand. Be proud. Everybody's had a bad day, right? It doesn't have to be today, but if you've ever had a bad day, yeah. Now, how many people have had good days, right? Yeah, right? Yeah. It's amazing. Everybody's real quick to raise their hand. Oh, I've had a good day. How many people have had bad days? Well, I don't want to admit that. Come on, we've all had bad days, right? I mean, welcome to life, right? It's just the way it works. But you notice you have days. You have days that are good. You have days that are bad. And what can separate a good day from a bad day? But a night's sleep, right? That's all that separates one day from another. Doesn't even have to be a good night's sleep. I know what's going on. You may not even sleep, right? You have a night, and then you have another day. And the next day, how many people had a good day today? How many people had a bad day today? How many people simply existed? And how many people haven't raised their hand because they don't know whether they're here or what's going on, right? None of these are trick questions, honestly. It's not a trick at all, right? You may have had a good day today. You may have had a bad day today. You may simply be one day older than you were yesterday. Does any of this have any bearing on what tomorrow's going to be like? Tomorrow may be a good day, may be a bad day, may just be a day where you get older. It has nothing to do with how today went. It's another day. But as people, too often we get in a rut. Oh man, this week has just been nothing but bad days, one after the other. Okay, but why? I mean, at a certain point, life happens to you, but a certain amount of it is how you react to life. The same thing can happen to 2 people, and one person can smile and the other person goes and have to check them into an institution because they just can't handle having a flat tire in the morning and couldn't make it to work, right? Life isn't so much about what happens to you, it's about how you deal with what happens to you, right? Now, that being said, what happens has a very big impact, right? You win the lottery, that can help set you up for a good day. You hit a deer and total your car, it can set you up for a bad day, right? Things happen, and you just have to roll with it. Story about people who had good days and bad days. The Israelites, when they were in Egypt, they went to Pharaoh and they're like, I can just picture Moses showing up. Moses was the original civil rights leader, telling Pharaoh, let my people go, right? Come on, you gotta laugh, you know? And Pharaoh's like, no. And not only no, but I'm gonna make your lives even more difficult. You're gonna have to do more work. And you're gonna have to do more work with less stuff. And it has to be the same quality. Well, when you start taking, great. I want you to go out and I want you to go out and I want you to tear up this road out here and I want you to re-pour it using cement. But you get no rebar. And it better not crack. Exactly, right? Yes, you need to keep making bricks, but we're going to take away the straw and everything that gives it strength. Well, at that point, you might as well dig up some of the dirt out here, water it, put it between some 2x4s, let it dry, and say, cool, I'm just going to build a house out of that. Let's hope it doesn't rain. Let's hope it doesn't get windy. Let's hope it doesn't get much of anything because it's not going to be real strong. Their days got worse. Pharaoh shows up, or Moses shows up, and he says, you need to let my people go. And Pharaoh said no. And so we introduce a plague, right? Plague comes upon the land, and Pharaoh says, you know, this is really pretty horrible. Now I'm having a bad day. You just made my days bad, so you know what? Fine, I will let you go. You get rid of the frogs, right? For those of you women who don't like frogs, right? You can be like, oh, Pharaoh's a smart guy, right? Just kick the people out, get rid of the frogs. And so frogs take off, and Pharaoh says, you know what? Never mind. In fact, now that I'm no longer having a bad day, I'm going to make your day suck even more. And this went on over and over and over. So think about the kind of days these people had, right? Moses shows up. He gets the word from Pharaoh. If you will turn the blood back into water, I will let your people go. You can imagine how quickly the rumors flew, that information flew around the camp of the Israelites. 2 million people or whatever. I'll bet it didn't take long before everybody had the word. Pharaoh said, we're out of here. At that point, the Israelites were suddenly having a great day. And about 3 hours later, the word comes through, actually, life just got worse. So just think about it, right? On the same day, it went from a good day to a bad day, right? So what changed? Exodus chapter 12, verses 29 through 33. Am I loud enough, Sister Vicky? Okay. Throw something at me if I need to be louder, preferably a full water bottle. Moses chapter 12, verse, is it loud enough for the online? Yeah. No, she said we're okay. All right, for now. Thank you. Exodus chapter 12, verse 29. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land. Who did it? The Lord did it. Keep that in mind. From the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians. And there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night, and he said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go, serve the Lord as ye have said. And also take your flocks and your herds as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also. I mean, there's a guy who suddenly had a change of heart. In the middle of the night, he was not waiting for morning. He sent his runner, you go get Moses and Aaron right now. As soon as he showed up, he said, you get your people, you get your stuff, and you get out. I want every one of you, I want all of your stuff. Take your chickens, take your turkeys, take your no pigs, right? Take your cattle, take your doves, take your donkeys, your camel, I don't care what you have. Take everything and get out right now. Do not wait for tomorrow. Get out now. And they had their freedom. From all of these series of days that were so bad to suddenly they had their freedom, and they didn't get their freedom the next day. It was instant. When they allowed God to work and they trusted God to take care of things, God took care of things and their problems were resolved. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, we be all dead men. They were urgent upon that, like, you know what? You just go bring the car around. I'll pack your stuff for you, right? I mean, they were anxious. You can have my camel and throw your stuff on it. Just go, right? From the day before to the day after, they went from being captives to not only being completely free, but on their way out of town. What was the difference? One day. That's all it was just one day. Verse 41. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass, that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. At the end of 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass. There were all of these days, 430 years. It was bad days. You would expect that 430 years and one day would be a bad day, right? I mean, come on. It doesn't take a graduate degree in statistics to figure this one out, right? What happened? One day. That's all it took. It was just one day. In Exodus chapter 14, verses 13 and 14, right? This is where, great, so these people are like, this is awesome. We're having good days. We're on our way. We're headed for the promised land. And they turn around. If you're coming, Tyler, if you're coming over to my house, you don't need to call and tell me that you're a mile away. Because if I'm looking out the window, I'll see the dust as you come up the gravel road, right? It's going to give you away. You will not sneak up on my house unless it's muddy. At which point, I may be bringing the tractor out to pull you out of the ditch, right? And it's the same way for these Israelites. They're like, these are great days. This is awesome. We're celebrating. Everything is great and grand and whatever. And then somebody turns around like, hey, Larry, you see dust? I'm hoping I don't see dust. I think I see dust. Let's not tell anybody, right? And a little bit later, it's like, hey, Larry, is that dust getting bigger? Is my voice cracking? Because I really don't want the dust to be getting bigger coming from that direction. Somebody got to tell Moses. And I got COVID. You go tell Moses, right? I don't want to be the one to go tell Moses, right? Well, let's hurry. Let's try to get away from him. Like, where are you going to go? You got this inland ocean in front of you. This isn't like going around Storm Lake. This is a sea. A sea is an inland ocean. You're not walking around this sucker. Well, you might in your, 40 years of traveling and whatever, but you ain't getting around it before the chariots. I mean, seriously, man, it's only been 15 minutes, and I don't know if it's my imagination, but I think the dust cloud's bigger, Larry. What are we going to do, right? And the people were seriously stressed. Think about it. 430 years of bad days. Finally, they get free. They're cruising along, and the dust cloud's getting bigger. And like, I like having good days. I don't want to have bad days again. It's just stupid, right? And so what happens? And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians who ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Dropping down to verse 25. And I've read this before, and I've mentioned it. I'll say it again, because Amy and Jeremy weren't here. So I find this to be one of the funniest scriptures in the Bible, right? Because it just reads, I could just picture a history professor standing up here in those Argyle sweater and whatever, and just reciting facts and stuff, right, And took off their chariot wheels, right? So, at least verse 24. I know I didn't give it to you, just bear with me, Sam. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, the Lord looked unto the host of Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, that they drave heavily. They drave them heavily. So the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians. I love the way that's worded. Yeah, God took the wheels off the chariots. God took the wheels off of all of the trucks, and yeah, it was hard to drive them. Like, you think? there was definitely a sense of humor with the author here. It's like, yeah, God took the wheels off the chariot and they drove heavily. I can imagine the horse, right? He's turned around like, dude, are you serious? Look at this chariot right now, right? But imagine you're cruising along, right? Here we are, we're cruising along, flying along in our chariots. Tyler, you and me, we're neck and neck. We're like, I got the first swing, brother. You want the first swing at him? You got to beat me. You're over there like, you think you're good. Wait until I go to the whip, right? And all of a sudden, wheels fall off your chariot, and I'm like, ha, see ya. Poof. What happened to my wheels, right? And then I look over, and Tate's over there is like, yeah, you old people. And then wheels fall off of his, and we look around. All the chariots, the wheels fell off the chariots, right? We're like, come on, horse, come on, let's go. And the horse is like, no, it's not working, right? Imagine the consternation to the point that the Egyptians said, you know what? Forget it. I'm leaving my armor. I'm leaving my weapons. This is biblical stuff here, right? God is fighting for these Israelites, and I don't want any part of this. And these people turned around, and they took off. This is the mightiest army in the world. And they weren't told to leave. I mean, everybody talks about soldiers being stupid, right? Right? And they could figure it out. They're like, no, we're gone. And they turned around and they started booking it the other direction. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. In one day, they went from, we're dead. The Egyptian army is coming. They're not going to take us back captive. They're going to take our stuff back, and they're just going to keep it. And we're just going to rot here in the desert. We're gone. What changed? One day. That was it. So if you're having a bad day, you don't have to have a bad day tomorrow. If you've been having a series of bad days, you don't have to keep it having a bad day. It's amazing what a difference a day makes. Joshua chapter 6, verse 20. What's this the story of? Somebody, anybody? Yeah, walking around Jericho. We all know the story of Jericho, yes? Right? And it's interesting, and Tyler and I were talking about this one time, the psychological impact, right? You ever have somebody look at you and just be quiet? I didn't mean your wife. But when somebody is really upset with you and they don't say a word, that's when you know, right? There is something seriously wrong. This is not mad. This is like next level. Something is not right here. And you got to be careful, right? Imagine millions of people walking around the perimeter of Spencer. Nobody says a word. None of the babies cry. None of the animals make any noise. It's just the sound of feet. Tell me that wouldn't creep you out. Tyler once, he was talking about this, and I think he showed a video of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. They built the bridge, and it was a suspension bridge, and the wind blowing across it through the suspension wires created harmonics in the wires, caused the wires to vibrate, right? And the wires vibrating created vibration that went through the bridge, and the bridge started twisting. And the bridge twisted so much that from one end to the other, you couldn't see because of the violence of the twist. And tons of people were driving out there and going out there on it because they thought it was cool and fun. I consider that an IQ test, right? I mean, at a certain point, Darwin, let's all hear it for the man, right? You know, natural selection, people. You think that's a good idea? You go right ahead. You want me to hold your wallet? And there was one day, it was a big windstorm, and it shook rotated so violently, the whole thing just snapped and came down. So in the military, when we're taught to march, you always march in step, unless you're going over a bridge. When you go over a bridge, they give a different command of route step, march. And everybody just goes into whatever normal rhythm it is for them. Because they learned that if you march a group of people across a bridge and everybody's feet are hitting at the same time, it creates resonance in the bridge. And it causes instability in the bridge, and the bridge could collapse. So when we march across the bridge, everybody is always given a route step. Everybody's feet hit at different times, and that way you don't have to worry about it. But imagine millions of people walking, and if they're walking in step, imagine it'd be like a small earthquake that would be going through the city. Imagine you're in your house, right, on day 4, and you're like, hey, Tate, they're doing it again, man. And you're sitting there trying to eat your Wheaties, and this crack opens up in the ceiling and plaster's falling in your cereal bowl. Imagine the psychological impact of that. It's crazy when you think about it. God was the master of psyop, right? On that last day, right? What did he tell him? Blow the trumpets and shout. Why? For the Lord has given you the victory. So what changed between day 6 and day 7? That's what they did, but what changed between the day? Nothing. It was just another day. But something different happened on that day. Instead of just marching around and doing what you're told and coming back the next day and doing what you're told, that day there was a miracle. It was because of their obedience. It wasn't even because of their faith. It was because they obeyed. But what changed between September 7th and September 8th, or whatever days it was just a different day on the calendar. When they woke up that morning, the sun came up in exactly the same place. It was the same kind of weather, right? It was just a different day. Oh, what a difference a day makes. Think about that. From we marched, we marched, we marched, we marched, we marched, we marched. What are we going to do today? March, right? Again, statistic, it's not, none of these are trick questions. What would you expect you do on day 7? Oh, same thing you did on day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But God had a different plan. They obeyed God, and he delivered. Oh, what a difference a day made. David and Goliath. How many days did Goliath taunt the Israelites? I'll give you a hint. What's the most common number of days that stuff happened? Or? Forty days and 40 nights, 40 years. Right? Yeah. 40 days Goliath came out and taunted them. Goliath didn't come out and ask, hey, you got anybody wants to fight? If you do, send me an email because I'm going to be in here playing solitaire, right? No. He came out and he was talking serious smack. He was taunting the Israelites. He was trying to goad them. He was getting in his licks. He didn't have to be fighting with his hands. He was fighting with his words. Now, let's face it. I'm going to look at Tyler, right? Tell me there's anybody who's been downrange outside the wire that doesn't know how to talk smack. We can give every bit as good as we can get. You practice on your buddies, and it's in jest. Oh, but if I need to do it for real, oh yeah, I'll send you crying. I'll send you home crying, and I'll call and make the appointment for the therapist, right? And that was him. Goliath brought his A game. He was taunting the Israelites. He was messing with, he was tearing them up. He was having fun with it. I guarantee it. It's not there, but I guarantee you, right? I've been there, okay? Trust me, this is what we do. And this is what they did back in the day, and even farther back in the day, and even farther back in the day. It's just when this is all you have, this is what you fall back on. And this is what Goliath did very well for 40 days. Every day it was the same thing. And I love, right? Little David. His brothers are chewing him out. Dude, you're just a punk kid. Be quiet. Sit down. You don't know what you're talking about. And he looked at him. Is there not a cause? I mean, seriously. And my action's like, yeah, prove him wrong. He was absolutely correct. There was every reason to stand up and get mad and say, you're going down, pal. I don't know who's going to do it. I recommend, let's throw Jeremy out there, man. You got this. I'm right behind you. I'll be like 40 feet behind you, but I'll be behind you somewhere, right? Maybe put Tyler in front of me, but we'll both be behind. We'll be way behind you. You got this, right? You're going down, Goliath. Jeremy, go out there, man. Do something about this, right? Yeah. But you can imagine. Meanwhile, Jeremy's looking like, you seen the size of this guy? He's got 6 fingers on each hand. And it doesn't look odd because his hands are so big. I mean, think about that. If I had 6 fingers, it would look strange. But if my hands were the size of like Andre the Giant's hands, I could have 6 fingers and it would look normal. That's the way this guy was. He was huge. Yeah. But what changed? Just a day. Went from April 7th to April 8th. Sorry, April 40th to April 41st. Right? It was the only thing that changed was a different day. The day dawned. And that day, Goliath's life changed. 1 Samuel chapter 17. 1 Samuel 17, verses 49 and 50. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. So you keep reading. He ran over and took the man's own sword and cut his head off. I mean, seriously, how rude is that, right? But tell me, Tyler, doesn't that make you feel a little bit good? Look at that. Look at him. Did you hear him giggle? That wasn't even a laugh. That was a giggle. Like, yeah, I'll kill you with your own weapon. Oh, that's just poetry right there, right? What's that? Yeah. Yeah, he did. He just picked up the head and he just walked back. He's like, smile, you're on candid camera, right? What changed? A day. For 40 days, Goliath had been taunting the Philistines. Right? This isn't an SAT test. What do you think they expected to happen on day 41? The same thing. What a difference a day made. That's all it took. Just one day. And everything changed. And when I say everything even for us here, we're still telling the story. The world changed overnight. There was nothing special about April 41st. It was just another day. The sun came up, they let the dogs go out to pee, they brought the dogs back in, they ate their Wheaties, packed their lunch, and David killed Goliath, and the world was changed. Oh, what a difference a day makes. Are you hearing what I'm saying? If you're having a bad day, if you're having a bad week, let's face it, I've had bad years, right? I've had bad months. I've had months that lasted like 18 months. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right? Oh yeah, January flew by. February lasted like, I don't know, 16 weeks or something. It was just, it was like it would never end. It was one thing after another. And I was just so glad for February to be over so we could just start March. Why? What's so different about March? Well, it's not February. Well, today's not yesterday. Why do you have to wait for a month in order for things to be different? Why don't you just let today be different than yesterday? Let God work in today. Oh man, Tyler, I can't believe it's only February 22nd. It's been such a bad month already. I can't wait for March to be here. You really want to go through this through the end for another week? Why don't you just embrace wonderful stuff now? Right? All of these stories, what a difference a day makes. Daniel in the lion's den. People are talking about, I'm being bullied, I have haters. Dude, here's a guy who had haters. They actually manipulated the king into signing a decree that even the king could not rescind or veto, and then saying, hey, thanks, man, here. Hang on, don't say anything yet. Let me make sure the ink is dry. Okay, we're good. We're good. You ready? Hey, king, yeah, this thing here, Daniel. Should we go get him right now? Let's chuck him in. You think you have people who don't like you? This man was set up for death. You got set up to take the blame for something that ended up in a harsh email from your boss. Aw, ain't you sweet, I just want to pinch your little cheek. What happened? When Daniel got up one day, he was in good favor with the king. He got up the next day, and he's being fed to the lions. What was different about February 21st and February 22nd in Daniel's life? A night? But oh, what a difference a day makes. If you turn to Daniel chapter 6, Daniel chapter 6, verses 22 and 23. Let's go ahead. I'll back up. And no, Sam, I'm not doing this to annoy you. I gave Sam my scriptures, and the software, it doesn't make it real easy just to hit like a back arrow. So when I back up and she doesn't know, then she can't pull it up easily. So, but the king came into the den and cried with a lamentable voice. He was heartbroken. This was his friend. He cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel, and the king spake and said to Daniel, "O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions?" Then said Daniel unto the king, "O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel, and hath shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me. Forasmuch as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt." Then was the king exceeding glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. I sleep with 5 dogs every night, okay? You can imagine what my mind does to Daniel with these lions. Is like, it's a little chilly on my back. Why don't you come over here and snuggle my back? There we go. That's a good kitty. Oh, I love that kitty. You're such a good kitty. No lick. No. Stop licking me. I don't like that, right? I can totally imagine this conversation, right? And yes, I'm being a little bit silly, but I want to emphasize, it doesn't say that, oh, everything was very somber, and the cats sat over in the corner and stared at him with menace. They kept their mouth shut, but they looked at him like they wanted to eat him. And Daniel sat there and said, "Oh, God, I'm trusting you and hoping they don't eat me." No. I mean, stop and actually think about what it was. Think about what it could have. God shut their mouths, right? They could have been swatting him around with their paws. How do we know that didn't happen? Because it just said, right there, right? No manner of hurt was found upon him. They were totally cool with his being there. Verse 24, and the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions. Them, their children, their wives, and the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, before they ever hit the floor. All of their bones were broken in pieces before they hit the floor. Those were some seriously angry kitties. Yeah. No, they were hungry. They didn't get a nice steak meal the night before Daniel was thrown in there. They were prepped for this. They were starved. They were hungry. They were mean. They were angry. I mean, these animals were out for blood. This was survival. It was animalistic. It was total instinct. It was kill or die. This is true. And the point here being, right? But you're absolutely right. It wasn't very nice to throw the children or the wives or the rest of the family or whatever. But the king was like, I am taking this entire cancer and getting rid of it. I am not risking the children following the path of the parents. We are cutting this whole thing out, and we're done with this. What's a key takeaway, right? Don't mess with God's kids. You may not be the only one to pay the price. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah, the whole family. Yep. Absolutely. What a difference a day made. For Daniel, for the guys who accused him, and the entire family. You're absolutely right, Amy, 100%. For all of the family, their lives changed overnight. And the king turned around and made a decree. In verse 26, I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, not just an idol. He is the living God and steadfast forever, and his kingdom which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. The whole kingdom changed overnight, from February 21st to February 22nd to February 23rd. Oh, what a difference a day makes. Think about that when you're going through something. When I'm struggling with my boss at work, Daniel had a bigger struggle with some folks, right? Trust God. He'll work it out. Backing up a little bit, Daniel chapter 3. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The fiery furnace. Think about how hot the furnace was. Have you ever been so close to a fire that it burns you or your clothes or your hair or something? Right? And I've been with fires where I'm this far away from it, and it is burning my hair off. It's one thing when, you have the bonfire and you reach in and you throw a piece of trash in there and, your hand is yay far away. When you're this far away, right, that's different. There was a guy in Greenfield that we were talking to about helping. He had a huge mound of spruce that had been down, that had been piled in his backyard, and he was concerned. He was like, I need somebody to come and get this stuff out of here, because if it catches fire, my entire house will burn because of the heat. The co-op had about a mile away from his house, probably 3/4 of a mile, half to 3/4 of a mile from his house, had cleared a whole bunch of spruce and piled it all up and lit it off. And at his house, he could feel the heat from it. Think about this fiery furnace, right? Heat it 10 times hotter than ever before. Well, it doesn't mean anything to me because I don't know how hot it was before, right? But the thing that stands out for me is that when the men grabbed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and hauled them up there and threw them in, these big, burly guys who were incredibly physically fit died on the spot from the heat. That's next level hot. I don't know how hot it started. I don't know how hot the 10 times. But if it's dropping these guys who are in their physical prime dead in their tracks, that's a level of heat that I genuinely cannot relate to. Intellectually, I say, wow, that's hot. I have never experienced anything remotely similar. I just can't relate. My mind explodes. And these people walked around in it. And the king looked, and he answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. One day everything was fine. They wake up and they're told, you're dead. Bless you. You can imagine how terrifying it was for the first guy. Imagine being the second guy. These 2 big dudes run up with your buddy and heave your buddy into the fire, which is so bright that it's like hurting your eyes to look at. You like lose the vision of him, and these 2 burly guys drop dead from the heat. And the 2 guys next to you say, let's go. Thinking, no, you go. I'm not going, right? Seriously, imagine how terrifying it would have been if you'd been guy number 2, right? Or guy number 3. There are 4 corpses there, and the 2 guys next to you are like, it's been good. See you on the other side, brother. You ready? Like, I'm glad you asked. No, I have some things I'd like to say, right? Again, I'm trying to be silly and make it real, but we read these stories and it's just words, and I want us to stop and think about what it actually means. Put yourself there. If you were there, if the furnace was by the front doors, right? You're feeling the heat. If you're standing here, you're like drenched in sweat, and Jim and Jake just dropped dead up there. You're like, those were my workout buddies, and they can work out a lot harder than me. This is, I mean, if I'm a spectator, I'm backing up. Actually put yourself there. Make it real. One day everything was fine. The next day, they're dying. They trusted God. I get that. Totally get that. But they also knew what reality was. They'd seen enough stuff burn. They'd had enough fires. They'd thrown enough stuff in the fire. Oh, what a difference a day makes. When they came walking out, they were like royalty. It was completely different. Oh, what a difference a day makes. Matthew chapter 28. What happened in Matthew chapter 28? Anybody know? Don't say anything. You smile too much. Anybody? I'll let you cheat. Read it. What do you think is happening in Matthew chapter 28? Resurrection. Yeah, thank you. Right? For 3 days, Jesus lay in the tomb. What would you expect to see if you had stopped by? Right? Day 1, they take his body in there, and they, bunch of these big burly guys, roll this humongous stone in front of the entrance and seal it off. You come back the next day, what would you expect to see? A big stone, this huge stone, humongous, what did I say? Humongous. This humongous stone smacked up in front of this opening sealing the cave. You go off, you do your stuff, you come back after dinner, what do you expect to see? It's not an IQ test, people. I mean, come on. You expect to see this humongous stone smacked up next to the opening sealing the cave. You come back the next day, what do you expect to see? I mean, I'm not going to do it again, right? You know, but yeah. You come back the next day, what do you expect to see? The same thing. But holy cow, things were different. Oh, what a difference a day makes. The angel answered and said unto the women, fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified. Verse 6. He is not here, for he is risen. Tell me that wouldn't give you goosebumps. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come. See the place where the Lord lay. You're welcome to come in and check out. This is where you saw when they brought him in and they laid him out here. Come on in. I'll show you. I'm not messing with you. It's not a joke. Check it out. He's gone. He's risen. He's resurrected. What was the difference between, let's do August, right? Between August 18th and August 19th. August 18th, they got up that morning, the stone was there. Came back after dinner, the stone was there. August 19th, they get up, they expect to go back and see the stone. And there's an angel there who says, what are you looking for? I know what you're looking for. You're looking for Jesus. You remember when he said he would rise? He did what he said. Come check it out. Oh, what a difference a day makes. Acts chapter 16. Verses 25 and 26. Love blue-collar workers. White-collar workers get caught up in office politics and get their knickers in a twist, and they get offended because you said something and they took offense because the way that you said it, I don't even know what you're talking about. The way that you said it, I think that I should be offended, so you should be in trouble, right? Blue-collar workers just have a different sense of humor. At midnight, Paul and Silas prayed. They're in prison. They are in prison and they are chained up. They're not in the drunk tank. I mean, this is old school dungeon style prison, right? You got an open window way up there high enough you can't get to. And if it's snowing, you're going to be white. I don't care what color you were. You're going to be cold. You're going to be blue. You're going to be, it was a mess. The floor is muddy, and people have been spitting in there, and people doing everything else in there. And you know, I mean, they didn't have a little cute little latrine. They didn't have the stainless steel potty over there right next to the sink. No. They had a slop bucket, which may or may not be emptied in time, right? They didn't have these COVID sanitation stuff and go clean things. They just grabbed the next guy and threw him in there. They didn't care, right? They're supposed to be. I mean, let's face it. It's not America. We make the prisons nice. Oh, they didn't have that issue, right? Put yourself in their shoes. Think about where they were. Oh, they were in jail. They weren't in jail. They'd have been happy to be in jail. This was a bad scene. They're sitting on the floor, you know. Here I look at Brother Larry as my Marine. I look at Tyler as my fellow, we smell alike. I'll just leave it at that, right? We've slept on the ground. We've slept on stuff. We were out on a night raid one time in Iraq. And I was tired, and we were just waiting for people to come show up, whatever. We're standing around. And I crawled up on the metal top of the Humvee, and I wrapped myself around the spare tire and went to sleep, right? Oh, yeah, you sleep on whatever. I would not have been comfortable on the bricks, the uneven bricks and the jagged stuff that was there. These guys are sleeping on this stuff. They're sitting on this stuff. And they don't get a chance to stretch out. They're chained together, chained to the wall. I mean, this is next level uncomfortable, dirty. I'm going to look at you women now, right? Because let's face it, statistically, the women are going to be cleaner than the men, right? It's just a fact. So I'm going to look at you ladies. Think about how nasty this stuff is. And these guys are sitting here, and they're going to be hauled off to, I don't know, let's see. This guy was beheaded. That guy was boiled alive. He was boiled until he died. This guy had his flesh stripped off. What do you think is going to happen to us? Yeah. Yeah. Just grab 4 horses and tie us to each limb to a different horse and, smack them all in the butt and see what happens. That was the reality of these guys. Again, we need to stop reading the Bible as a story, and we need to take the time to put ourselves there to really understand the impact and what they do. At midnight, when most people would be sleeping, right? They didn't just pray. You're like, oh, I'd be praying all night long. Yeah, they didn't pray all night long. They prayed, and then they sang praises unto God. God, you're good, you're mighty, you're awesome, you're wonderful. You got all things in your control. Life's great, I love you. They probably sang like that. They were blue collar, right? I mean, it's not like they had a good set of pipes, right? It wasn't Mel Torme, right? And the prisoners heard them. You get these blue-collar guys. Like, I don't know. What a difference. I can picture Paul looking over at Silas. What a difference a day makes, right, brother? And Silas looking at him like, yep. Today was probably a pretty good day compared to what tomorrow's going to be. There's putting it in perspective for you. Yeah, we got smacked around. We got beaten. I lost a tooth when they shoved me in here, and I've hit my face on the floor. I'm thinking this was a pretty good day compared to what tomorrow's going to be. What should we do? I think it's a good time to pray. Yeah, well, let's not pray for long because I got a song I want to sing. You got the whole world in your hands, right? I can just picture Paul and Silas in there, right, singing this. It's amazing, the kind of faith that they had, right? Verse 26, and suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken, and immediately all the doors were opened and everyone's bands were loosed. This place shook so hard that their handcuffs fell off. Now, if I'd been in the cell next to him, I'd have been a lot more freaked out about that than I was about these guys over, these knuckleheads singing, he's got the whole world in his hands, right? Again, put yourself there. Think about what happened. And they got up and they could just walk right out. The jailer woke up. He's like, oh my God. Picture that's probably what he said, right? Because it doesn't say Paul and Silas's door opened. All the doors were opened, and everyone's bands were loosed. This murderer, that thief, that rapist, this guy over here who he killed the king's duck, right? This guy had parking tickets. That guy was jaywalking. This guy over here, right? Everybody just get up and leave. And the jailer woke up. Like, what was that? I got to go check and make sure the jail's okay. I mean, I hope the thing didn't fall in. I don't know. Paul and Silas, they were keeping me up late that they're singing. Maybe I'll be better off if the jail fell in on them. He walks in, all the doors are open, nobody home. He's like, I'm dead. I will actually be killed because it's one thing when one of your prisoners escapes. When all of them just walk out, this man had no excuses. He's like, I'm gone. It takes his revolver out of his holster, cocks it, right? Holds it up here. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, don't do that, man. We're all here. You're cool. Ended up in a conversion. Ended up in people being saved. From one day, being taken and beaten and thrown in prison and told the next day is going to be the worst day of what's going to be a significantly shorter life than you had expected. To being able to preach and baptize somebody. Oh, what a difference a day makes. Acts chapter 12. Since we're here in Acts. Since we're talking about prisons. Verse 6. And when Herod would have brought him forth, the same night Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and the keepers before the door of the prison. If you wanted to know whether this was a high-value detainee, Paul and Silas were chained in their cell. Peter was chained in his cell, and two big old honking guys are one on either side of him. They weren't snuggling. They were like, you move, we're going to beat you. Because we don't like you. It's the way it is. There's a guy outside the door. There's a guy outside the next door. There's a guy outside the door beyond that. There's a guy outside of every single door. You want to get out? Go ahead, you try. If you can take out both of these big guys while you're chained up, you still got that guy, and you 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 got that. Go ahead. You have fun with that. Right? Like somebody said the other day, hold my water, right? But stop and think about it. Think about the situation. Think about the scenario. There's no way. This man can't roll over without one of his guards elbowing him in the face. And behold, the angel of the Lord came upon him, and a light shined in the prison. And he smote Peter on the side and raised him. Hey, get up, man. Come on. What, you want to hang out with these guys? Let's go. Come on, move. Again, think about this. Make it real. The angel smote Peter on the side and raised him up and said, arise up quickly. And his chains fell off from his hands. You think you had a bad day today? You think you had a bad day last week? You think the last month, think about last month. Think about the worst day last month. We'll just roll it back. So far this year, because I have no idea what month we're in or what's happened or whatever. I have no clue, right? Great. Since December 31st of 2023, right? So from January 1st through today, whatever today is, right? Think about the worst thing that's happened to you so far this year. Have you been in prison, chained up in a nasty, filthy, excrement-covered rock floor, freezing your tuchus off? Have you been chained up between burly guards with the president breathing down your neck, wanting to take you out? Have your haters set things up so that you're thrown into a lion's den or into a furnace that's so hot that it kills people who just get close to it? Do you have the largest and mightiest army in the entire world coming looking specifically for you to kill you? Let's just put your bad day in perspective here. And in every one of these situations we've talked about tonight, from the day before to the day after, was just a day. There was nothing special about that date on the calendar. Oh, what a difference a day makes. So when you're feeling down, when Satan's after you. So I'll share something that makes me laugh, right? So I went down to Greenfield last week. The day that I was supposed to leave, I hit a deer and totaled my car. I hit a deer, right? No, sorry, let me rephrase it. Here's what I told the insurance company when I called them. I had a counseling session with a deer about the dangers of standing in the middle of the roadway in front of oncoming traffic. And his buddy was doing the same thing in the opposite lane, right? So for those of you who are going to ask, why didn't you go around him? Well, I had a deer in my lane, I had a deer in the other lane, I have ditches on either side, you pick, right? Whatever. Yeah, exactly, right? So I hit this deer on the day that I'm supposed to go down to Greenfield. Cool, right? So I jump in the van, head down that way. So instead of taking my sedan, I get to take the Pepto-mobile, right? You like that description, do you? So have you seen my van, Amy, Jeremy? I have, see, you're laughing already. I have a 1999 Econoline cargo van. No windows along the side. It's all painted. And is Pepto-Bismol pink. People say, hey, I saw you in Spencer today. I'm like, how'd you know it was me? Right? There was one day somebody's like, yeah, I saw you in Spencer over the weekend. I'm thinking, I wasn't in Spencer this weekend. Oh, Greg was using the van. Right? So it's great. Greg can drive however he wants and get away with it. I'm the one that gets blamed, right? So let's see. Saturday, I hit a deer. Then I end up having to take my van down to Greenfield. On Wednesday, I lost my phone while out cutting trees in Greenfield. So I go to jump in the van to head home. I have no GPS. I don't even know where Greenfield is, right? It's in Iowa, I think, right? So I go in and I get into the command and general staff, and I'm like, she's like, use my laptop, right? So I pull up Google Maps, right, punch it in, and I get these Post-it notes, and I write the directions: 0.9 miles, turn right, Pheasant Avenue, go 1.2 miles, turn left on 210th Street, go 3.8 miles, turn right on Main Street, / Highway 1, / Tate Avenue. I mean, writing all this stuff out. It was like MapQuest, but I didn't actually get it to print it out. I had to write it all out, right? You don't remember MapQuest. See? There was nowhere to buy a map. I mean, we're in Prescott, Arizona, right? And yet there's nothing around, whatever. So no problem. I get all this stuff written down, right? Come cruising back home, whatever, get home. So, cool. Check my email from the bank, like, yep, we totaled your car. You need to call us, we'll take care of stuff, whatever. Great. So I call them up. They're like, we're going to send a code to your phone. Like, I don't have my phone. Like, well, you have to have your phone. Like, ask me a different question. Eye color, hair color. I can give you a DNA sample. I can tell you my children's date of birth. I can give you their DNA samples, right? You know, ask me any security question you want. They're like, sorry, we can't, we're not allowed to. You have to do the code on your phone. Like, but I don't have my phone. They're like, that's too bad. Like, that doesn't work, right? What do I do? Like, well, can you use a different phone? Can you use a work phone? I said, yes, call me on my work phone, give me the number, I'll tell you what the number is. Like, no, you have to go online and you now have to register your work phone. Fine, whatever, right? So I go online to register my work phone. But you have to upload a picture of your ID. I don't have a phone to take a picture of my ID to be able to upload, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? And meanwhile, at work, of course, I work in IT. Everything we do is like multi-factor authentication. So I mean, all week, like, I can't log into this system. I can't log into this. I can't log into this system, right? Great. So I call up the Verizon phone insurance people, and I'm like, yeah, I lost my phone, whatever, you know, okay, fill out this, go to this website, fill out this form, went to the website, fill out the form. Awesome. That was Monday, right? Tuesday, there's an email that says, we need some other documents from you. You got to, like, sign this thing that says you really lost it, and you sign, you promise you lost it, and that way, if you didn't lose it, you're stealing phones, they can come and they can, like, you know, repossess your kidney or something, I don't know, right? And so I sign the whole thing, you know, got to upload it, and it gives me an error. So I try to upload it again, it gives me another error. I try to upload it again, it gives me another error. Why do you keep trying? Because, I don't know, it's like there's no other thing to do, right? So I call them up. I'm like, look, I'm trying this upload. It's not working, right? She's like, try it again. I'm trying again. Nope, see, didn't work. Let me send you another link. It's the same link. It's just in a different email. Fine, right? So I click the link. It's like, didn't work. Oh, okay. Let's use a different URL. And then you have to log in again and then navigate over to get to the same page and upload it. Seriously? Right? So I drag, drop, submit. It's like, nope, same error. Like, oh, well, I see that the documents actually did come through, as I needed two things. I needed, again, picture of my driver's license, right, you know, and this document, great. She says, nope, we got all the documents, we're good to go. You'll hear back, it'll be approved, and it should take no more than 3 hours. Cool. That was in the morning. Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon, I call up and the recorded system says, we see that it's been more than 3 hours. We'll send you an email when we're done. I'm like, well, and there's no email and whatever, right? Fine. So Wednesday, I call them up Wednesday morning. I'm like, it didn't go through, whatever. She's like, oh, well, you try submitting again. I just tried it again. Well, let me send you another link. Click the link in the email, drag the thing, click submit. Nope, same error. Okay, let's start over. Let's just go to this URL and we'll have you log in. I did this before. I did this all yesterday. I've done this like 247 times. It doesn't work. Let's try it again. Okay, fine, right? So I go through the whole thing, I click it, I click submit. Nope, same exact error. She's like, let's see. Let me put you on hold and go look at stuff. She comes back. She's like, I'm going to escalate this to tier 2 support, and they'll be able to look at, and the phone was disconnected. Great. So I redialed, get this guy on the phone. Dude, let's just cut to the chase, man, okay? I've already tried this a whole bunch of times. It doesn't work. The lady was going to escalate me to tier 2. Can you escalate me to tier 2? He's like, let's try submitting again. Okay, I would be very happy to. I'm going to send you a fresh email. It's like, how did I know he was going to say that? It's like I'm psychic or something, right? You know, click the link in the email, drag the thing, click submit. Nope, didn't work. You know? And he's like, okay, fine. You know, I'll go ahead. And I was like, look, man, I got disconnected. He's like, give me whatever alternate phone number, and I will call you back if we get disconnected. Give him the phone number, right? Puts me on hold, whatever, and like, 10 minutes later, the phone was disconnected. I'm like, I got stuff to do, right? I got to work. So I go back, and I was waiting for a call back. Never called back, right? Today I'm down in Lamoni all day, and Lamoni, south of Des Moines. I don't know where I was, wherever Graceland is. Not the Elvis Graceland, the university. And so I didn't have a chance. I was like doing stuff down there, and I didn't have a chance to call. And, they're like, oh, we can ship your phone in as little as 1 day. Yeah, well, if I call them on Friday, I'll get my phone as early as next Monday. Meanwhile, I'm getting these emails from the insurance company, from the insurance adjuster. I'm expecting the shop in Fort Dodge to call and say, I want your car off my lot. Will you get rid of it? I can't. The bank won't talk to me, right? This has been my week. I'm cool with it. I'm totally cool with it. I really am. I laugh about this stuff. It would be real easy to be miserable. And God's standing there and he has a blessing. He's like, hey, got something for you, Joe. No, I'm miserable. How many of you've had kids? Everybody here's had kids. You better not have had kids, right? Or you, right? Everybody here's had kids, right? And you've been around kids. When the kids are grumpy, it doesn't matter if you want to give them something to make their life better. If they're just throwing a tantrum and they're in a grumpy mood, they're just going to be grumpy. It's like Tyler, right? God's standing there and he's like, hey, Joe, got a blessing for you. It's like, I'm grumpy, I'm in a bad mood, I'm having a bad day. Like I can make it better. Did you hear what my week has been like? No, man. I'm expecting great things tomorrow. Why? Because it's a new day. So when you're having a bad day, when you're having one of these kind of days, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people like, when you're filled with the Holy Ghost, you should never have bad days. Ooh, I'm going to stand over here because you got a lesson coming, and I don't want your lesson to rub off on me because I already learned that lesson. I'm going to stand like way over here, right? We're still human. We have bad days. These kind of days. We have good days. But tomorrow's tomorrow. Embrace tomorrow. So regardless what kind of day you had, when you wake up every day, say, thank God for this day. Oh, what a difference a day makes. Let's stand. Lord, we appreciate the opportunity to come, to gather together in your house, in your name, when we can leave our problems at the door, we can gather together with like-minded people, and we can be reminded that it doesn't matter how bad things have been. It doesn't have to continue. Tomorrow is a new day. And I thank you, Lord, that if you tarry through the night, that I'll see you in the morning. All of you,